Good day, everyone. After sa discussion in Rizal's Exile, let's move on sa Rizal's Trial. That started kay Andres Bonifacio and iyahang mga katipuneros nga nag-raise og rebellion on August 26, 1896 in the hills of Balintawak, popularly known as Cry of Balintawak. Nga nung Cry of Balintawak man, it's because dito sila ni Shagit and gipunit ang sedula. In August 30, gitry nila og lusob ang San Juan near the city of Manila. But nabigo sila, it's because kulang silag armas and tauhan. In the aftermath of the Battle of San Juan, si Governor General Blanco nagdeclare og state of war in the 8 provinces for their insurgency against Spain Manila as a province. Spain Manila, it's because mao pa lang ang nasakop sa mga Spaniards. And ang the rest, Bulacan, Cavite, Batangas, Laguna, Pampanga, Nueva Vizcaya, and Tarlac kay ila pa lang sakupon. Nahadlok si Rizal kay basig daghan daw mag-suffer nga Filipino sa buhaton nila nga pagrebellion. And he was also frightened of the likelihood of Spanish reprisal against all Filipino patriots. Sa panahon na nagrebellion ang mga Katipuneros, naka-receive si Dr. Rizal og 2 letters gikan kay Gov. General na niingon wala siya'y labot sa rebellion sa mga Pilipino. Maong nabalaka si Dr. Jose Rizal, nilakaw siya padulong Spain para dito niya humanon ang iyahang service as military physician. Gibalhin siya steamer gikan Spain going to Cuba. Sa hindi inaasahan, giaresto siya unlawfully bago pa siya makaabot sa Barcelona. Kay gihinalaan siya nga siya ang pasimuno sa rebellion. But then, niingon si Govjen na wala siya appeal. Mauto, ang sunod na nahitabo, gisakay na po siya sa ship padlong sa Manila gamit tong ship ang name kay Colon. Niabot sila November 3, 1896 and gikulong sa Fort Santiago. And then ay available nga documentary evidence which consisted of 15 exhibits to be discussed by Marley Incalia.
Number 1. A letter of Antonio Luna to Mariano Ponce, dated Madrid, October 16, 1888, showing Rizal's connection with the Filipino reform campaign in Spain. This letter highlights Rizal's influence within the Filipino reform movement in Spain. Antonio Luna, a prominent Filipino revolutionary, seeks advice from Mariano Ponce regarding the appointment of Julio Lorente as the director of a reformist newspaper. Luna explicitly states that Rizal is well acquainted with Lorente and possesses valuable insights into his capabilities. This underscores Rizal's position as a trusted figure and advisor within the reformist circles. Number 2. A letter of Rizal to his family, dated Madrid, August 20, 1890, stating that the deportations are good for they will encourage the people to hate tyranny. In this letter, Rizal expresses a surprising perspective on the deportations of Filipino intellectuals by the Spanish authorities. He believes that these deportations, while seemingly oppressive, serve a purpose by awakening the Filipino people to the injustices of Spanish rule. He argues that the deportations will encourage the people to hate tyranny and resist oppression. This letter reveals Rizal's evolving understanding of the nature of resistance and his belief in the power of public awareness. Number 3. A letter from Marcelo H. del Pilar to Deodato Arellano, dated Madrid, January 7, 1889, implicating Rizal in their propaganda campaign in Spain. This letter explicitly implicates Rizal in the propaganda movement in Spain. Marcelo H. del Pilar, a key figure in the movement, writes to Deodato Arellano, a prominent Filipino leader, about Rizal's involvement in the reform campaign. This letter confirms Rizal's active participation in the movement and his commitment to achieving reforms through peaceful means. Number 4. A poem entitled Kundiman, allegedly written by Rizal in Manila on September 12, 1891. This poem, a tribute to Rizal, is significant for its alleged date of composition. If authentic, it would suggest that Rizal continued to express his nationalist sentiments even after his return to the Philippines. The poem itself, however, is not included in the provided search results, making it difficult to assess its content and its connection to Rizal's unknown works. Further research is necessary to confirm the poem's authenticity and its potential significance. Number 5. A letter of Carlos Oliver to an unidentified person, dated Barcelona, September 18, 1891, described Rizal as the man to free the Philippines from Spanish oppression. This letter, written by Carlos Oliver, a Spanish writer and admirer of Rizal, reveals the growing recognition of Rizal's influence beyond the Filipino community. Oliver describes Rizal as the individual capable of liberating the Philippines from Spanish oppression. This letter highlights the impact of Rizal's writings and his growing stature as a symbol of Filipino nationalism. Number 6. A Masonic document, dated Manila, February 9, 1892, honoring Rizal for his patriotic services. This document, dated February 9, 1892, honors Rizal for his patriotic services, while not explicitly stating his involvement in Freemasonry. The document suggests that Rizal was recognized for his contributions to the Filipino cause by a group known for its commitment to liberty and equality. This document further reinforces the connection between Rizal's activism and the growing nationalist sentiment within the Philippines.
Number 7. A letter signed Di Masalang or Rizal's pseudonym, Toler Luz, dated Hong Kong, May 24, 1892, stating that he was preparing a safe refuge for Filipinos who may be persecuted by the Spanish authorities. This letter, written under Rizal's pseudonym, Di Masalang, reveals his efforts to provide refuge for Filipinos facing persecution by the Spanish authorities. Rizal's concern for the safety of his fellow Filipinos and his commitment to their welfare is evident in this letter. This document showcases his leadership and his willingness to act as a protector of his Filipino. Number 8. A letter to Limasalang to an unidentified committee, dated Hong Kong, June 1, 1892, soliciting the aid of the committee in the patriotic work. This letter, again written under the pseudonym Limasalang, reveals Rizal's continued involvement in the patriotic work, even from exile. He solicits the aid of an unidentified committee, suggesting that he was still actively working towards the Filipino cause. This document highlights his dedication to the movement despite the risks and challenges he faced.
Number 9. An anonymous and undated letter to the editor of the Hong Kong Telegraph censuring the banishment of Rizal to the Pitan. This anonymous letter, censuring Rizal's banishment to the Pitan, reflects the growing public outcry against the Spanish authorities' actions. The letter highlights this widespread perception of Rizal as a victim of injustice and his growing status as a symbol of Filipino resistance. Number 10. A letter of Ildefonso Laurel to Rizal, dated Manila, September 3, 1892, saying that the Filipino people look up to him as their savior. This letter demonstrates the profound impact Rizal's writings and actions had on the Filipino people. Ildefonso Laurel, a prominent Filipino lawyer and politician, expresses the Filipino people's admiration for Rizal, viewing him as their savior. This letter underscores Rizal's role as a symbol of hope and inspiration for the Filipino people. Number 11. A letter of Ildefonso Laurel to Rizal, dated Manila, 17 1893, informing an unidentified correspondent of the arrest and banishment of the Ratia Cortes and Ambrosio Salvador. This letter, while not directly related to Rizal, provides context for the growing unrest and the Spanish authorities' attempts to suppress dissent. Laurel informs an unidentified correspondent of the arrest and the banishment of the Ratia Cortes and Ambrosio Salvador, suggesting the Spanish government's increasing paranoia and its efforts to silence any potential opposition. Number 12. A letter of Marcelo del Pilar to Don Juan A. Tenluz or Juan Zolieta, dated Madrid, June 1, 1893, recommending the establishment of a special organization independent of Masonry to help the cause of the Filipino people. This letter reveals the evolving strategies within the Filipino reform movement. Del Pilar, recognizing the limitation of the existing structures, recommends the establishment of a new organization independent of Freemasonry to more effectively advance the cause of the Filipino people. This letter suggests a shift towards a more focused and organized approach to achieving independence. Number 13. Transcript of a speech of Pinkian in a reunion of the Katipunan on July 23, 1893, in which the following cry was uttered: "Long live in the Philippines! Long live liberty! Long live Dr. Rizal! Unity!" This transcript, capturing a speech by Emilio Jacinto, a key figure in the Katipunan, reveals the growing influence of Rizal's ideas within the revolutionary movement. Jacinto's cry of "Long live in the Philippines! Long live liberty! Long live Dr. Rizal! Unity!" demonstrates the deep respect and admiration of Rizal within the Katipunan. This speech highlights the unifying power of Rizal's ideas and his role as a symbol of Filipino aspirations. Number 14. Transcript of a speech of Tik-Tik in the same Katipunan reunion wherein the Katipunero shouted, "Long live the eminent Dr. Rizal! Death to the oppressor nation!" This transcript, capturing a speech by Jose Teriano Santiago, another leader in the Katipunan, further underscores the growing revolutionary sentiment and the role of Rizal as a rallying figure. The Katipunero's shout of "Long live the eminent Dr. Rizal! Death to the oppressor nation!" reflects the growing anger and determination to overthrow Spanish rule. This speech highlights the direct link between Rizal's ideas and the emergence of armed resistance. And the last, a poem by Laong Laan entitled Atalisay, in which the author makes the Dapitan schoolboys sing that they know how to fight to their rights. This poem, a tribute to Rizal under his pseudonym Laong Laan, is significant for its message of resistance. The poem, which is not included in the search results, allegedly depicts Rizal teaching the Pitan schoolboys to fight for their rights. This poem, if authentic, would further demonstrate Rizal's commitment to fostering a sense of national consciousness and preparing the next generation for the fight for freedom.
The oral testimony of the following person. We have Martin Constantino, Aguido del Rosario, Jose Reyes, Moses Salvador, Jose Dizon, Domingo Franco, Deodato Arellano, Ambrosio Salvador, Pedro Serrano Lactao, Dr. Pio Valenzuela, Antonio Salazar, Francisco Quizon, and Timoteo Perez. So those people I've mentioned, they are testimonial evidence against Jose Rizal. On November 26, 1896, Judge Advocate Colonel Francisco Olive forwarded the record of the case to Governor General Ramon Blanco, who designated Captain Rafael Dominguez as special judge advocate to initiate proceeding against Jose. Captain Dominguez submit a summary of the action to Governor General Ramon Blanco, who thereupon sent it to the Judge Advocate General Don Nicolas de la Peña. So, after studying the paper, Peña submit the following recommendation. So, what is the recommendation? So, first, the accused be immediately brought to trial. So, dapat litigation na agad si Rizal. So, second, he should be kept in prison. So, third, an order to attach be issued against his property to the amount of 1 million pesos as indemnity. And fourth, he should be defended in court by army officer, not by civilian lawyer. So, kani ang katingalahan jud kay nganong ay dili man army si Rizal. So, nganong army officer ang mag defend kay Rizal, dili ang lawyer. So, kani nga lawyer ay kani nga army officer kay ang pangalan niya kay Luis de Andrade. So, igsuon siya ni Jose Cabell de Andrade nga guard niya dati. No, ana si Rizal na tong 1892 tong na siya na exile sa dapitan, never siyang na-involved sa political activities or dealing with political matters kay tungod na exile siya sa dapitan. Tapos ana pud si Rizal na wala siya'y connection sa katipunan. During the time, Jose was in prison cells at Fort Santiago. He penned a manifesto seriously asking the Filipino people to case the Needles Act tumultuous war. He encouraged them to attain freedom through education and habit of working hard and steadily. Palma, 1964, promulgated this manifesto as follows. Ana si Rizal, kung gusto nato maging malaya, dapat na daw tay tamang edukasyon din tamang awareness. So, mao na ang ginasuggest ni Dr. Jose Rizal. no ana si Rizal na tong 1892 tong na ano siya na exile sa dapitan, never siyang na-involved sa political activities or dealing with political matters kay tungod na exile siya sa dapitan. Tapos ana pud si Rizal na wala siya'y connection sa
The trial of Jose commenced in the Quarter de España, a military building, on December 26, 1896 at 8 o'clock in the morning. Present in the trial were 7 members of the military court: Lieutenant Colonel Jose Togores Arjona, Captain Ricardo Muñoz Arias, Captain Manuel Reguera, Captain Santiago Izquierdo Osorio, Captain Braulio Rodriguez Núñez, Captain Manuel Diaz Escribano, and Captain Fermin Perez Rodriguez. Also in the military court were Don Luis Tabiel de Andrade, Captain Rafael Dominguez, Lieutenant Enrique de Alconcer, and observers, which include Josephine Bracken, a sister of Jose, Newspapermen, and other Spaniards. The trial of Jose Rizal commenced on December 26, 1896 at 8 a.m. in the Cuartel de España, a military building. Rizal first charges of rebellion, sedition, and illegal association for his involvement in Katipunan activities and membership in the La Liga Filipina. During the trial, the charges were read. Rizal pleaded not guilty and evidence was presented against him. Ultimately, Rizal was found guilty and sentenced to death. This trial was a pivotal moment in Philippine history, leading to Rizal's execution on December 30, 1896, and fueling the Philippine Revolution against Spanish colonial rule. Rizal martyrdom ignited a nationalistic fervor, inspiring Filipinos to fight for independence and cementing his status as a national hero. Judge Advocate Captain Rafael Dominguez began the trial and explained the case leveled against Jose. Jose was charged of 3 crimes: rebellion, sedition, and illegal association. Lieutenant Enrique de Alconcer, prosecuting lawyer, advanced a gingerly harangue detailing accusations against Jose. He mercilessly made an effort to persuade the members of the military court to punish the accused with death sentence. Lieutenant Don Luis Tabiel de Andrade, defense counsel of Jose, tried hard to come up with a convincing defense. He brought an end to his defense by reminding the judges to be fair and avoid fictiveness in their judgment. After Lieutenant Don Luis Tabiel de Andrade's defense, the court inquired Jose if there is anything he wanted to say. Jose confidently read a supplement to his defense. So, the trial of Jose Rizal began with Judge Advocate Captain Rafael Dominguez explaining the charges against him. Rizal faced 3 charges: the rebellion, sedition, and illegal association. Prosecutor Lieutenant Enrique de Alconcer presented the case against Rizal, aggressively arguing for death penalty. In contrast, defense counsel Lieutenant Don Luis Tabiel de Andrade worked hard to defend Rizal, urging the judges to remain fair and impartial. After the defense, the court asked Rizal if he had any final statements. Rizal confidently read a supplementary defense which Diviana recorded as follows.
He could not be guilty of the rebellion, for he advised Dr. Pio Valenzuela in Dapitan not to raise a revolution. So based on Rizal argues that he actively discouraged rebellion, contradicting the charges against him. No? So number 2, he did not correspond with radical revolutionary elements. So Rizal denies any direct communication with radical revolutionaries. No, based sa yaha. So number 3, the revolutionaries used his name without his knowledge. If we are guilty, he could have escaped in Singapore. So Rizal asserts his innocence by stating the revolutionaries used his name without his consent, and that he could have escaped if we are guilty. So, proceed to number 4. If he had a hand in the revolution, he could have escaped in Morovinta and would not have built at home a hospital and both land in the Pitan. So Rizal argues that his actions in the Pitan contradict the associations of the revolutions, as he invested the community instead of lying. So proceed to number 5. If if he were the chief of the revolution, why has not he consulted by the revolutionists? So, based on Rizal emphasized that he was not involved in the leadership of the revolutions, as he was never consulted by the revolutionaries. So, number 6 is, it was true he wrote by the laws of the Liga Pilipina on these as civic associations, not revolutionary society. So, Rizal clarifies that the Liga Filipina, which he founded, was a peaceful civic organization, not a revolutionary group. No? Dili daw sa civic na organization, but dili po siya revolutionary nga group. So, number 7. The Liga Filipina did not live long, for after the first meeting, he was banished to the Pitan and it died out. So, Rizal points out that the Liga Filipina was short-lived and dissolved after his exile to the Pitan. So, let's proceed to the number 8. If the Liga was recognized 9 months later, he did not know about it. Rizal denies any knowledge of the Liga Pilipinas recognition after his exile. No? So, proceed to the last number. Number 9. The Liga did not serve the purpose of the revolutionists. Otherwise, they would not have supplanted it with the Katipunan. So, Rizal argues that the Liga Pilipinas goals differed from the Katipunans, indicating that the Liga was not a precursor to the revolutions. Rizal points out that the Liga Pilipinas goals were different from the Katipunans, which ultimately lead to revolutionists. This suggests that the Liga Filipina was not precursor to the revolution, on that Rizal was not involved in its violence aspect.
Number 10. If it were true that there were some bitter comments in Rizal's letters, it was because they were written in 1890 when his family was being persecuted, being dispossessed of houses, warehouses, lands, etc., and his brother and all his brother-in-law were deported. Rizal's letter from 1890 reflect his frustrations due to the persecution of his family, including the loss of their properties and the deportation of his relatives. This context explains the bitterness in his writings, highlighting the emotional and social turmoil he experienced during that period. Number 11. His life in the Pitan had been exemplary, as the politico-military commanders and missionary priests could arrest. During his exile in the Pitan, Rizal led a commendable life, demonstrating good citizenship and community involvement. His behavior was so admirable that local authorities, including military commanders and priests, could not justify any actions against him, despite his political views. Number 12. It was not true that the revolution was inspired by his one speech at the house of Dorotea Onjonko, as alleged by witnesses whom we would like to confront. His friends knew his opposition to armed rebellion. Why did the Katipunan send an emissary to the Pitan who was unknown to him? Because those who knew him were aware that he would never sanction any violent movement. Rizal was not a proponent of the armed revolution, contrary to claims made about his influence during a gathering of Dorotea and Jonco's house. His friends understood his stance against violence, which raises questions about why the Katipunan sent an emissary to him indicating a disconnect between the revolutionary intentions and Rizal's principles. The biased military court was apathetic to Tuce's appeal. After a brief deliberation, the members of the military court agreed to convict Jose and sentenced him to death. On December 26, 1896, the unjust military court decision was given to Governor-General Camilo G. de Polavia, who asked the judgment of Judge Advocate General Nicolas de la Pena, who confirmed the death verdict. On December 28, 1896, Governor-General Camilo J. de Polavia signed the court-martial's decisions to execute Jose Rizal. Medina, in 1998, presented this decree as follows: Conformably to the foregoing opinion, I approve the sentence dictated by the court-martial in the present case, by virtue of which the death penalty is imposed on the accused Jose Rizal Mercado, which shall be executed by shooting him at 7 o'clock in the morning of the 30th of this month in the field of Bagumbayan. For compliance, and the rest may correspond, let this be returned to the Judge Advocate, Captain Don Rafael Dominguez. The military court that tried Rizal was biased and dismissive of his appeals for justice. Despite the lack of fair consideration, they quickly convicted him, leading to his death sentence. This summary of events culminates in Governor-General Camilo J. de Pulavia's confirmation of the verdict and the scheduled execution, underscoring the political motivations behind Rizal's trial and the harsh realities of colonial rule in the Philippines.